Hello, welcome to You Haven't Blanked That. I'm Forrest.
And this is Jimmy.
Well, this week we watched a gem of a movie.
A gem of a movie.
Called The Great Rock and Roll Swindle. It's a Sex Pistols movie, part of Punk Rock Month. Jimmy, do you have a description?
Filmmaker Julian Temple chronicles the Sex Pistols' tumultuous rise to fame as told by the manager Malcolm McLaren.
Jimmy, we both love the Sex Pistols. And we
very
love this
much.
album. We always talk about how we used to listen to this album a lot.
A lot. This album, I first heard this album from your brother, actually.
Yes.
This movie was amazing.
Right?
I fucking loved it. I fucking really liked
weird
it.
seeing everything in context, though, after hearing the album so many times.
You know what? Yeah, because like the thing is, the album to me is just so just random and just chaotic, and nothing really makes sense. Now watching the movie, it all
and it's all kind of out of order too, because I re-listened to the album, and the album's not in the same order.
It's not in the same order. Like
no,
but
like You Need Hands, and the album is way at the end.
No, but this movie, the director Julian Temple, he wrote a movie or directed a movie called Earth Girls Are Easy,
Which we are doing next month.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, and he did a couple other things too, but he does another movie that I think we should do later also, called the Filth and the Fury, which is the Sex Pistols.
They referenced it in the movie.
That was kind of like always their thing, was the Filth and the Fury. But that is the story told from the Sex Pistols' point of view.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but the director, like, I was looking at his movies. He's got a bunch of weird different movies. So I kind of want to deep dive in for a bit. Maybe I'll pull something that we could do later on. Also, this movie was released in 1980.
Yes, right. Way after the Sex Pistols broke up, and
because
Sid was dead, and it introduces Malcolm McLaren.
Yes,
who was the embezzler.
Very much so.
Steve Jones, who was the crook. Paul Cook, who played drums, was the tea maker. Johnny Rotten, the collaborator, and Sid Vicious, the gimmick, which is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
And they break it up into lessons, and it's Malcolm McLaren talking about how he formed them and what he did. The first one was how to manufacture a group. It's lesson 1, and that's that weird little
midget.
Not midget. Well, there's that weird little
little person. I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's that scene where all the people are coming in and singing at the beginning. So, and it's like everybody, but Tenpole Tudor's in there, and I'm sure that there's a bunch of other people who are. I can recognize everybody because I don't know them all
visually.
But so that it was the anyone can be a Sex Pistol thing when they were all singing Great Rock and Roll Swindle at the beginning.
So, side note to all this, I do like how it shows you how they have the album cover.
Yeah,
how they did it
for the Great Rock and Roll Swindle.
Yeah, because like at first you see that little person just rolling out like letters and stuff like that, and you're like, ew, little people. But then you realize, oh, she's like making the whole like.
Yeah. So the next part was lesson 2 was establish the name. Oh, they talk about what people do at punk shows and stuff like that. They talk about the pogo.
There's a lot of like just argument about who
did what.
Who did what, especially for punk. It's like, yeah, like you said, like a lot of people say the people over in Dogtown ended up like creating pogo first, and then I remember seeing something about like, what was it? It was somebody was saying that in DC they were moshing first. I think it all came naturally. You know what I mean? Because the music is very like up that like what are you gonna do? There's a lot of pride and a lot of like this is our stuff, this is our way, and like It's just weird how little
when
groups
you when you break it, the New York scene was about art. I mean, if we learn anything from the CBGB movie, it was like an art scene.
Yeah,
punk was an art scene.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I think in L.A. and England, I think it was more rock and roll. Like I think it was a lot. Well, that was more getting back to the basics of rock and roll. I think it was more music driven than the art stuff was in New York.
Yeah, New York was all about just showmanship, I guess. Because like a lot of even with the Ramones, their look was very distinctive as to like what they were. You know, they all kind of looked the same. They all kind of like had to learn how to play their music together. But like that compared to like the Germs or like Black Flag, you know what I mean? They're very just kind of like in your face and just very raw, and they don't really give a shit what they look like. But yeah.
Now this shows footage from Glenn Matlock, who was the original bass player before Sid, and he was kind of kicked out of the band because he was a little too clean cut,
too badass.
No, he was a little too clean cut. And he wasn't playing dirty enough. That's what in the Steve Jones book. That's what Steve Jones was saying.
Oh, really?
Side note to Glenn Matlock: when I played in the band, we actually opened for Glenn Matlock.
Oh no shit! When was this? Which band was this?
Donkey Punch.
Okay.
So 2004, 2005, we opened for the Anarchy.
Oh shit! I remember that show.
Yeah.
That was a good show.
I was like freaking out because I'm like, oh, I'm playing, and I'm like, fuck, it's Glenn.
Who was in the beginning? Was it Malcolm or Johnny Rotten?
Oh, they're all.
Who were like is wearing the mask when he comes up on stage?
Oh, that's Malcolm.
Malcolm, and then like, cool intro to the whole thing. But when he took off the mask, how high was he?
How high was he always?
Oh man, his eyes were just bulging, and he just looked completely confused as to what was going on. But he was just all about it. Like, I had a hard time trying to find this documentary,
a little bit of both.
Yeah, trying to find this because it's not on Amazon, it's not on Netflix, it's not on Hulu, it's not on YouTube.
You know what it is? I think it's on Shout. I think Shout has the rights to it.
Oh. Well, I just assumed I couldn't find it anywhere because all the swastikas.
That could be the way. Yeah, a lot of Nazis, a lot of swastikas.
So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it was the shirt that did it, but you know.
I don't know if that's the reason why it's not on anything.
I think so because I remember like YouTube took all Nazi references out of YouTube. So, and I know that's what a lot of teachers are complaining about during like the lectures about like World War II. Most of the stuff that they used to like show the kids as, you know, like this is what happened, all got pulled from YouTube because it had swastikas in the background or like whatever. So that's why I assumed it was not on YouTube because you can't find any like Sex Pistols like videos that much on YouTube.
But you know, I really only feel like the swastika stuff that you see from Sid is in like this.
Yeah, no, like this was pretty.
It feels, and a lot of it I know is Malcolm just being like, "Oh, we're gonna do this just to piss people off."
Yeah, because even watching this is a very artsy movie because it starts off with like that girl. Malcolm's talking about like, you know, about creating an image of the band or whatever, and then he cuts that girl's hair, and then next thing you know, like she's like completely transformed into like a punk with like the Biohawk hairstyle, and then how creepy. No, the little people. I have a problem with like little people and like this woman, little person lady, walking around cleaning Malcolm's feet as Malcolm's like dick and balls are just floating in like the bathtub.
A lot of balls in this movie.
A lot of balls, a lot of wieners in this, but yeah. What was the next segment?
The next one was Sell the Swindle, and this is the one that has that scene with the piano lesson. With the lady who was going over the vocal coach.
Oh yeah. Like she was the one with the actual music book for Never Mind the Bollocks.
Yeah,
she's singing it all classically. I feel like this movie has the spirit of randomness that the Beatles tried to do for Yellow Submarine, minus the nudity, minus the cursing, minus the swastikas, minus the Nazis. But with the talking dog. No, you didn't get that from this? Because this movie's very, like...
No.
And there's parts of it where it's very just kind of, like, random. Like, the filler scenes in between, like, the...
I feel like a lot of this was more on purpose than it is. Like...
Yeah, I'm mainly referring to the rape hotel. Where, like, they're going in and they're opening doors and, like, it's just, like, random, like...
Yeah, but like
shocking things behind each door.
But that was like it's just I don't know. I love these albums. Like I don't know if it's a nostalgia thing for me because they were the first like kind of punk albums I listened to.
Uh-huh. And
I like them, but like as I read more about the Sex Pistols, I'm just kind of like, okay, Pete, they were totally manufactured. Like that's legit.
No, for sure.
They are the monkeys of the fucking punk rock world.
Yeah, because like the thing is like.
But I'm gonna throw it out there. There's nothing wrong with the Monkees either. I fucking like the Monkees. I fucking love that TV show as a kid.
You know what? I do too.
I think we've had this conversation before about the Monkees.
But yeah, the Sex Pistols, like even like listening to it, like. I was shocked to find out that they didn't sing the French version of their song. I really thought that was them singing it. I'm like, oh, that's super cool. You know, like, yeah, they're in the UK. Like, a lot of people don't know multiple languages, so like it makes sense that they would sing.
How did you get that voice as Johnny Rotten's voice there?
I just figured he's speaking French and then he's just throwing an accent onto it, and that's what it was.
Johnny wouldn't do that shit.
Well, that's what I figured, but turns out. I was wrong.
So then we get to lesson 4, which is do not play, do not give the game away. And in here they kind of reference it, but they don't show the video from it. It was the Bill Grundy show incident.
The Bill
where they said shit on TV. The host Bill Grundy was being like Susie and the Banshees was one of the people in the background in that real life like video from that thing. Uh-huh. Like at this point. I think if they re-release it, they can totally edit that back into it. Like, they can edit that into it, but they don't show it. Like, they reference it on the TV screen, but they don't show it. But at this point, you can kind of edit it back in, and you can make it actually work with as random as this movie is anyway.
Yeah.
And I think the quality enough would, like, actually fit with the movie. Like, if you were going to George Lucas the fuck out of this movie, like, this is something you can do. And, she's like, oh, we watch you all the time, and then he says something like like insinuates that he would fuck her later.
Oh, really?
And Steve goes, "You dirty fucker, you dirty bastard," and they shut the show down, and that's what that was talking about. That's what they're talking about on the paper with all that like they're cussing on TV.
Oh yeah.
That's what they're referencing.
Oh, okay. Found out that this movie was shown at the wake of Ian Curtis.
Take as much money from the record company, lesson number 5. That's where the lady has the ants on her face.
Ugh, geez.
And I think at the end of the movie, they take like $775 or pounds from record companies in general. Like, that's how much they...
Good for them.
Yeah. No, that's... Yeah. And they go through 3 record companies doing it.
Yeah.
They go through EMI, they go through A&M, and they go through Virgin Records.
That's who made Rock and Roll Swindle. The label was on Virgin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have that on my notes. Also, the Rock and Roll Swindle came out on February 26, 1979.
Oh, that's why my brother likes it then.
Why?
February 26th is his birthday.
Oh.
To go to lesson 6, which is how to become the greatest tourist attraction.
Is this the one where they have the Queen's Jubilee?
Yes.
Okay.
So they play for the Queen. I think there's video of it somewhere. I know they kind of reference it in Sid and Nancy also. Like there's scenes of it of them on the boat and everything.
Yeah.
But like they actually, I was really excited because Lisa watches The Crown.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, there is no way you can tell that story without at least mentioning the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Like even like a passing reference.
Well, I'm shocked that they're like at like such a current age with The Crown. Really, The Crown's actually pretty good though. It's pretty good.
I don't have time to start.
The Winston Churchill scene in the first episode.
Well, it's dope. John Lithgow, so anything John Lithgow is fucking great. It's
super good.
I was like really excited. I was like, oh, they're gonna get to this soon. Like I knew where they were at.
Yeah.
Like history wise, I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna get to this soon, and there'll be an episode I can watch with Lisa.
Which makes sense because it's on like their cover of like, and their shirts all have the Queen. Yeah. Like, but why not mention it?
Yeah. There's not even a passing mention of it, and I'm like. So I'm like, they didn't mention the Sex Pistols at all during this, and she goes, no, and I'm like, I am disappointed.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bummer. I had no idea that Malcolm got arrested during the Queen's Jubilee.
Oh, who did get the fucking arrested in the Sex Pistols?
I figured they just shoot them off the stage and then got rid of them, and that was kind of it.
No, because I've seen scene at the end of that in Sid and Nancy where they all get arrested. The movie. Remember Sid and Nancy get away, like they're walking all slow,
right? And then they
like
start going.
Everybody else is getting like beaten with with a billy clubs and shit.
Yeah, so I figured it was just a beat down the punks as per usual.
Yeah, but you beat them before they're beat before they're brought in.
Oh, I just thought it was just you whippersnappers.
Do you think that they were just?
No, I figured they insulted the queen, so they just got their ass beat and they just moved on.
No, I mean that's a punishable offense.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
So after the whole Queen's Jubilee, there's a scene that looks like they're on top of the pops.
Yeah, because they wouldn't let them on top of the pops after the
whole Queen incident.
Well, in general, yeah, I think in general, but I think that was probably what was.
Do you think the Queen was that just fucking bitchy?
I don't know because they won't show me on the crown.
Oh, you know what? In the movie too, they talk about it. They say that it's right after the Jubilee, saying that they're gonna limit the playing of this song, and that you could call into the radio show and they could discuss whether it's fair or not, and blah blah blah. Could it be the fact that they fucked up at the Queen's Jubilee? Obviously, they limited their actual airtime play. Of course, they're not gonna put it on top of the pops after that.
Clearly, the Queen wasn't like it, but the Queen, you're never gonna hear the Queen talk about how she doesn't like something. Well, I mean, you're gonna hear about it, but you're not gonna hear it from her.
Yeah, it's not dignified.
And then you see that scene with the song "Pretty Thing," where it's like the baby Paul Cook waiting for Santa. Yeah, this is a trippy ass movie. There's some weird fucking shit.
It jumps around a lot. But hold on, before we go too far, I did find out something as I was trying to look up more stuff about the Queen. That this is not the first incident they've had with royalty.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't.
Because the other incident had to do with Freddie Mercury. So I guess they were recording at one of the studios, one of the record company studios. Elton John's manager, John Reed, once described the whole incident as anarchy on one side and monarchy on the other. Sid Vicious got drunk.
What?
Right? He was all fucked up and just stumbled into Freddie Mercury's recording studio. And then it turned into this whole scuffle match. I think it was Sid who then ended up saying oh, you're bringing back ballet to the masses, and then kind of just mocking Freddie. And then Freddie got upset in a very bitchy way, where he says, "What are you, Sid Furious?" And then and then at that point he ends up picking up Sid by his collar and throwing him out of the studio. And I guess later on in somewhere in mid '80s, Freddie Mercury was having an interview from another magazine, and they asked him what happened, and he kind of retells kind of the same story, called him Sid Furious and whatever, but then mocked Sid Vicious, telling him that go run away and make sure you cut yourself in the right angle so you have this bad boy image. And then after that, the two of them just fucking hated each other.
Throughout the whole thing, it's intercut with Steve Jones as a detective, trying to figure out the Sex Pistols, trying to
Dick Tracy, the whole thing.
Yeah, and so then at one point he goes and he starts trying to hook up with this girl while singing Lonely Boy. Partway through, Malcolm comes in with a talking dog and tells him he needs to get on a train so he can go to America.
Oh, that's the whorehouse. The rape
hotel.
Yeah. Because I know it was bad, their tour in America. And they show you in the movie exactly.
Well, yeah, that's lesson 7. Cultivate hatred. It's your greatest asset.
Hold on. Before that part, though, we skipped a part, and that was Sid Vicious' scene where he was on the motorcycle.
It's Sid singing Eddie Cochran songs. He's dancing around in his underwear and drinking beer with Nancy in the apartment. You could tell that they had some stuff that was done
because they
just kind of interspliced it in and just
for sure because it didn't fit anywhere in the storyline, but they made it let's put Sid in there.
Yeah, because when they're doing all that goofy shit, John Rotten is not around at all.
Oh yeah, because he left the band and then they filmed certain parts with him out of the band, and there's obviously parts with him.
Well, there's also parts with him with Glenn Matlock in it still. Even some of the cartoons has Glenn Matlock in it.
Yeah, but this is the part where with Sid on the bike, it reminds me of Steve Martin
and fucking
Little Shop of Horrors, because it's that same fakeness to it. You know what I mean? And then plus he's wearing the same jacket
where he's going 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. I thought Bambi. Right, that's who they kill the guy in the train.
We're getting there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Next, it's lesson 8 is how to diversify your business, and actually that's around the time they do the part with Steve Jones in the hotel.
Oh, okay.
That's the hotel part. when they go on tour, it's taking civilization to the barbarians.
They kill Bambi
on
in the train. That's where I was like, is that like a Bowie reference? But then like they make a Bowie reference later on in the movie, so obviously it's not. So I don't.
Yeah.
Is it like they're killing like pop music? Is that what it is?
Pop music, because I think Bambi is supposed to signify innocence.
But that's where the girl, where like she had the Bihawk girl.
Yeah.
That's where she wears that. The Rule 9, the bring civilization to the barbarians.
Yeah, and then that's where they show their tour, and they show the Pistols' last show. Run just like murdering fucking No Fun from the Stooges.
Oh man, well the thing is like, I mean you're bringing like British punk to Texas. That's their first show, which was a fucking nightmare. Like that's the stupidest decision to make. You know what I mean? Like they should have known that was dumb.
Well, it was Malcolm.
Like I think at one point Malcolm tries to bash the head of some like Texan guy. And then they interview the guy afterwards, like, oh yeah, I was being rough with him, disrespectful, but like that's what they get. And like they're punks wearing barely anything, if not slightly effeminate kind of clothing too, and shoving that in front of like American Texas.
Yeah, like that was. But it's clear like that was done on purpose though. Like you know what kind of crowd he was getting when he booked everybody.
Jesus, oh, you know who also was British and went to Texas and got a lot of guff was Mr. David Bowie.
You think?
But when Bowie was in Texas, he decided to wear. He was looking through the magazine, saw a woman in a dress, and he decided, oh yeah, I want to wear this. So he buys a ball gown and is walking down the streets of Texas, and then like he keeps getting called fag and like whatever, all this other like derogatory names and whatever, and he gives two shits about it. But like that also just shows how badass David Bowie is, that he gives zero fucks
walking down the street wearing a dress.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that just kind of reminded me because like there's like you get David Bowie who could walk down the street. You know what? I think David Bowie even got a gun pointed to his face wearing that dress.
Probably, dude. It's sexist.
And then especially in the 70s, they asked him like, "Why the fuck are you wearing that dress or whatever?" And he goes, "Because I look fabulous in it." And he walks away. And then like that was it. Like he no more grief from the guy. He just kind of like that was it.
Yeah.
But like you see David Bowie who could like step up to somebody, not disrespect them, but like still kind of get away with what he wants to do. And then you get the Sex Pistols who are just loud, obnoxious, and in your face, and then like the different reactions between the two, because like they almost got their ass kicked by the entire bar. But yeah, when they're in fucking San Francisco for the last show, ooh, that was rough.
Right?
That was rough, man. And they were playing like an auditorium too. Like, were they that big?
Yeah. But that was, I think, the size of the Santa Monica Civic Arena. A lot of the punks from LA went up to see that show. But the final lesson and the Great Rock and Roll Swindle is who killed Bambi?
Who killed Bambi?
And that's your favorite part of this whole fucking.
That was the best. That was the best scene.
Well, Tenpole Tudor was a singer in England, and he has other songs outside of Who Killed Bambi.
That's the only one I know. But go ahead.
He has a song called "Throwing Out the Baby with the Bathwater." That's the only one I can think of off the top.
All right, no, for sure I'm going to have to Google more of this.
So at this point, it gets really weird. So while they're doing this Who Killed Bambi part, Steve Jones, it gets a little meta also. We were kind of like, oh, it's a little meta. So Steve Jones goes into a movie theater where they're showing like the last, 20, 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. While
hooking up with a girl. And then this part of the movie is when the band breaks up and you see Sid in France. Uh-huh. And that's where you hear the French version of Anarchy in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's just Sid going around and just being a dickhead in France.
Wearing the Nazi shirt. Paris, 1943.
Going up to that French girl and being like, you want some of my pizza? And just rubbing it in her face.
Well, the best scene of the movie was Sid in Paris walking around what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But he's wearing this red shirt with the Swazi and with the white background behind it, and he just walks right in front of a cop, and the camera focuses on the cop's face because that's a natural look, and he just looks just fucking just pissed and just disappointed and confused and angry. And oh man, if he was trying to piss people off, he was fucking doing a great job.
He was.
There's that Jewish guy that he meets in the middle of the street, and he gets all in his face and starts yelling at him. But then you see where they've cut it, and then they have Sid pop out a knife and then kind of brandish it like in front of the camera. But then they splice it back into like him arguing with that guy, and that guy was just all in his face.
Yeah. It's almost like that shit that you would make in high school, like a high school movie that you would make.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like kids, like when we were in high school and everybody was trying to make a Jackass movie.
Oh yeah.
It seems like it was kind of like that, just edited all weird. And also the next part that shows them in Brazil. It's Steve Jones and Paul Cook, and they go down to play with Ronnie Biggs, who was a train robber, and he wanted to write songs. And I think Malcolm set it up to where they went to Brazil. You know, a third cover of Belson Was a Gas, which I guess you need.
This is the best version of it, though. I think it's just, it sounds better. It just sounds more like livelier.
Well, because the guy's singing it in German also, though. So it actually sounds, it's one of those, like, it really sounds authentic. Like, there's a German guy singing it.
It sounds good. It sounds really good, especially with that older man voice to it.
Sid singing My Way, and then shooting everybody up in the crowd, which is, if you've seen Sid and Nancy, they redo that part. But Nancy was in the crowd in the movie. She's not in the crowd. I didn't see her in the crowd, but she was probably... I bet you she was there. Yeah. Yeah. There's a cartoon at the end of Friggin' and the Riggin', and it kind of actually just goes through the Sex Pistols' career. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
It's full on just like the analogy for it. Like, they shove Glenn Matlock off at one point, and Sid's on there, and then the ship just sinks with them on it.
Yeah. No, like, the whole movie is good. I really, really liked it. It was as much as... Well, it's a long movie.
Oh,
an hour, 45 minutes?
Hour 45, yeah.
Yeah. But, man, it just...
it goes on a bit. I mean, that's the only thing. It is a little long, but it needs that chaos in it.
Also, this movie has shown me that men in the 70s with their bushy, curly hair, especially when they're in Brazil, just makes my head so itchy. Just because it looks so, it just looks so gross. Also, the animation, because there's animation throughout this whole movie. Fucking really good animation.
Yeah, it almost,
for like late 70s.
You know, it almost looks like that animation in the Star Wars Christmas special.
I looked up the company that did it. It's called Animation City. They no longer exist, obviously.
What?
But
did they do anything else besides?
I tried to look up. There's zero information by it. But like, I just wanted to mention the name because they did such a great job.
It does look like that animation from the Star Wars Christmas special to me. It looks like that Boba Fett cartoon.
Yeah, it's like early 80s cartoons, but the animation was actually really well done. There was no shortcuts in the animation, so I was super impressed with it. During that whole Who Killed Bambi segment when they go to the movie theater, that theater looks like the same theater in Piccadilly Square, which is also the same theater that they filmed American Werewolf in London.
Is it the same theater?
I think so, because it looked just right. Where like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that and I thought it was pretty cool. I'm like, oh, is that the same theater? They showed a couple different theaters in the beginning of the movie, and they said it was Soho. So I'm not sure whether it's the same theaters.
If that's where they were.
Yeah, but it looked more like American Werewolf, but I know they filmed that in Piccadilly Square. So.
Oh yeah, there's the big part where the wolf's running around.
Yeah. Aside from that, I like this movie.
The Filth and the Fury, I think, has one of my favorite scenes, and I don't want to tell you about it because it's going to be a really good surprise if it's actually in that one. And I think that's the one that it's in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like 80% sure the scene I thought was in this is in that.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell you a little
because he has all the extra stuff. Because Julian Temple does that also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw he has about 30 different films that he's done, and they're all like weird. There's a lot of documentaries in there too, and there's a lot of just kind of punk related kind of things. So I kind of want to go back and check out his other videos.
Jimmy, we are going to watch a movie about the LA punk scene. It's called The Decline of Western Civilization, directed by Penelope Spheris.
Where do I know that name from?
She directed Wayne's World.
Oh, okay.
1 and 2, I believe.
Oh, nice.
And The Little Rascals.
So, okay.
But she did documentaries.
I love that movie, Little Rascals.
Fun, good. But she did more things than that. I mean, she did these Decline movies. So there's the punk rock one. There's actually a metal one, and there's a kind of like a gutter punk one.
So with this one, we're talking about
1970, like early punk. So it's like X and the Germs, and Black Flag.
Yes.
And it's been a while since I've watched it too. But yes.
I'm sold. I'm excited.
Well, that's gonna do it for the episode this week. If you have any questions or comments, you can hit us up at our Instagram
at YHBlankThat.
Or you can email us at yhblankthat@gmail.com.
Bye.
Bye.